I want to tackle the 7 stages of grief. I've done this before, but I feel that this is very important for mental health awareness, um, especially if you go through trauma, because it is a circle and it doesn't end, and it will never end. It continues and continues and continues. And you have to experience every single one of the stages so that way you know how to circle back. And each time you circle around, it's easier and easier because you have built a resource of things that help you out, that you know when you hit this point, you know what, I know this works for me, I'm gonna do this. But if you get stuck in that circle, you're not gonna move on, you're stuck. And if you are in a stuck position, then you're not going to be able to circle back. You're just stuck, and that is going to be your frame of like mind. It just won't go. So for instance, if you're angry and you're stuck on that, you're going to be angry and you're going to be bitter, and it's not good. It really, that one is probably the hardest one to get over. And but you have to complete the full 7 stages in order for you to start healing and start, you know, regaining that power back, you know, regaining that power back. And I also want to say that, you know, I know we have this idea about what life looks like, and, you know, how we should be or how others perceive us to be. And if something goes wrong, you know, you think that's like the end of the world, and it's not. You get to start over. That's the wonderful thing about life, on, you know, that we have here, is that if something happens, you get to try and try and try and try again. It's endless what you can do. So, you know, don't feel like you're stuck. You know, like, you can move, you can do all sorts of things. So I just wanted to point that out. So I'm going to go through the 7 stages, and yes, I am looking at my computer because I have short-term memory loss, so that's my deficit. So normally I can talk about stuff without referring to my computer, because I usually just speak straight from the heart, but to hit these points, I want to make sure I get right. So the first stage is shock and denial. So with that, the feelings or what you go through is you're kind of numb at first. Like it's not phasing you, you're numb. And that's kind of your body just protecting itself at the moment when it happens, you know, just you're numb. Disbelief, you know, like, did this really happen to me? How did this happen to me? That was a big one for me, disbelief. Like, I cannot believe I had this. Denial, you know, where you're just like, depending on your deficits or what's going on, you're just kind of in denial that, okay, so this is my life. So, you know, if you've got deficits, you know, physical or you know, all sorts of, there's so many different deficits out there for stroke victims, you know, just kind of like denying it at first, like, no, it's a denial like that. I'll use me as an example because I don't want to speak on behalf of other people. So for me, it was just like denial, like, it was in the beginning, it was balance issues. Like I did have a lot of balance issues. I could not walk straight at all. It took a lot of practice, and it was not until like 3 months later that I could go to physical therapy due to the pandemic. So it was just like denial, like, why can't I walk in a straight line? And why, like, oh, you know, like denial about, nah, I have short-term memory. I can think right off the top of my head. And then, the shock comes through like, well, no, you're wrong. I do have short-term memory loss and it sucks. So, so if someone asks me something and I kind of just stare at them, and they don't know, or they do know, but they just don't remember, and they think like I'm just like ignoring them, and I'm like, I am trying to retrieve like what I'm trying to say. And, so I'm like, yeah. So, and then, the walking part too, it was like, I need to get exercise, but like, I can't walk that far. Now I'm really, my balance is like perfect-ish. I mean, I'm a natural klutz, so I will say it's back to what it was before the stroke. Short-term memory loss is getting better. It's not as long. In the beginning, it took a little bit to retrieve, but now it's like I may stare at you for like 5 seconds blank, and then it comes to me. I still struggle with PIN numbers for my debit card. So I'm coming up with different types of techniques of trying to remember it. But it, that's a work in progress. So, but short-term memory, I'm just glad that it's not like gone, so I am working on that. I wish there was like, you just don't want to be like, hey, I had a stroke. So when you ask me something and I'm quiet or I stare at you, like, hey, I had a stroke, sorry. Like, you don't want to play that card, and, it sucks. So, but it is what it is. That's, who cares? Who cares? So, the second stage is pain and guilt. And this is like, now you're feeling it, right? So it's excruciating, the pain that you're feeling. You start thinking that this is unbearable, and it just digs into your mental health, because you're like, this is unbearable, the pain that I'm in. And so then you start feeling like you're, like you start avoiding things, because, you just don't want to go through like, you have guilt over it, even though this was in no way, shape, or form your fault that this happened. But for some reason, it's like guilt comes on, because you're like, okay, so my loved ones have to take care of me. Am I going to be a burden? So then you start feeling this like, guilt about it and avoidance. And then you start feeling remorse, for like, okay, so I reacted a certain way and I feel remorseful, or you know, um, what did I do? What could I have like done differently, you know, to avoid this? So you're starting to be like looking back, like, you know, this is all my fault. Like, were there indicators? Did I ignore them? Did I, you know, were there certain things going on? So you start feeling the remorse, and then all of a sudden, like, all of this stuff is just like pouring. It's just like gasoline on a fire, and everything starts feeling chaotic. And you just want to run and escape. And then you're just like, once you run and escape and you're like, everything's quiet, then you start feeling sorry for yourself and for your situation. So that second stage, that is an awful stage. That is, I believe, probably one of the ones that has the most going on, because that's your reality check, really, is what it is, the second stage. You know, the first one is like, okay, so this is what happened, and then the second one is like, oh my God, I'm feeling things. You're feeling it. So first stage is like, what? Second stage is, oh my God, I'm feeling everything. So the third stage is anger and bargaining. And this is the stage that a lot of people get stuck on the most, because we all know that we all want to be happy, but it's easier to get angry than it is to stay happy. I don't get why that is. And some people, you know, bond over their anger over certain issues, and instead of like bonding over rejoicing certain stuff. I mean, I don't get it, but it is very easy to be angry, because it's like, I'm not taking accountability for this. Like, this is, you know, but it's different things. So what do you do with your anger and bargaining? You're going to start lashing out. So there were several times I lashed out because I was so angry with what I was going through, that like I was like lashing out at my husband. I was lashing out at my poor mother, you know. I was just lashing out. It was just like, and it was because I was just so angry that this happened to me and everything I was going through. I was like, my life has completely changed. And so it was like, I was just so hateful, so angry, and, you know, not hateful towards my loved ones, but just like hateful towards myself. Like, I just was hating myself. And I was just like, you know, I hate myself. Like, I just can't believe this. I'm so angry. I hate myself. So, you know, and then you start blaming things. You're like, okay, so like this happened, so, you know, XYZ happened this day, so this has got to be it. This has got to be it. And the thing is, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know what caused it. I mean, there's an obvious checklist that they have out there of like high risk stroke people that do engage in those activities. So maybe they can reconcile that a bit better. Like, okay, I didn't live the healthiest lifestyle, but for me, there was just a lot of blame going on in my head of why it happened. But What is that gonna do? Did that change anything? No. It didn't change. It's not gonna go back and change my situation. So, and then you start playing the bargain game. You're like, so the what ifs, like, what if I had done it something differently? Would my results turn out like, would I have had my stroke? Um, you know, what if I, that's just such a hard one. Like, I go back and forth with that one. Like, what if I had approached this? What if I feel that I'm a stressed out person, which I tend to be very stressed out. And the reason why I'm stressed out is because I overanalyze, I'm a perfectionist, and if things just don't go the way that I think it should go, it stresses me to no end. And I am exerting way too much energy on something that is out of my control or has not even happened. And so that's the game I'm playing. Like, what if I just relaxed? And so, but I didn't at that point. So, playing the what if game is, it can be problem solving, yes, identifying, but you can't say the what if I had did this differently, would I have had a stroke? Point is, you had your stroke. Done deal. It happened. So, and this one is just very hard because it's very easy to be stuck in that anger phase, especially if you have a lot of deficits, and it's very hard, because, like I said, I don't want to speak for other people's experience. So I'm just speaking, for myself, but, there's just a lot of things that are packaged in with the anger part. So, that's just that one just seems to be like the easiest one to hold on to, and that seems to be where people get stuck. But if you can get past that, trust me, it starts kind of going in a different direction. So you're going downwards. So you're like angry, and now we're moving down. So then you go to your fourth stage, which is sadness, reflection, loneliness. So this is the point where I think, you're starting to make some progress, but, people are perceiving that you're making progress because physically, like, they're looking at you, or whatever, and they're like, oh, you're doing good, and they think everything's a-okay, but you're not. So and they don't understand what is going on, inside, what mentally, what you're struggling with. So if you're making strides, you've gotten past that anger, and you look like you're doing better, people are going to perceive that you're doing good. So then it kind of gets to a point where it's like, so if you show any other type of sign, it's like, it's frustrating. So and then during this, after you get past the anger, then that's when it really soaks in the true magnitude of the loss, of what's happened. And once you understand the magnitude of what's happened to you, um, you know, that's when you get to have a long period of self-reflection. So you start reflecting on everything that's going on. And like I said, that's kind of when you start taking inventory with your life and, what to do. So some people tend to isolate themselves when they reflect because they're afraid people are going to perceive them as weak or mentally unstable, because as you do self-reflection, you're going to go through a lot of different emotions. So some people tend to isolate. Um, and then you may have, some emptiness. After that, you may feel empty, or despair. And then in your reflection, you start thinking, what did I kind of call them regrets, but like, what did I not do before my stroke that now I can't do? Although never say can't. But that's where the mindset goes. Like, what did I miss out on? And then, you know, um, then you start missing things that you did do before your stroke. So, if you were someone who was an avid bike rider, and you can't do that anymore. There are certain activities you engaged in and you can't do that anymore. For me, on my personal journey is, I can't be in a packed room. It's too much stimulus for me. I can't handle it. I can only handle it in small portions. And so my lead engineer from work, who was like a brother type to me, he left, or he's getting ready to leave. Anyways, we had a going away party, and so I went there, and it's not like a huge crowd, but it was bearable. But towards the end, I started feeling unsteady, like I didn't have my balance, and I had an excruciating migraine afterwards. So I'm like, like I this is stuff I could have done, I used to be able to do before my stroke, and now I can't. So after you process all of that information, so you're down here. So this is kind of where we're in the sadness area. Now we're going upward. So the fifth stage is upward turn. And this is where things get better. Your symptoms start decreasing, your emotions start lifting, you're starting to adjust to your life. That I hate to say new normal. For some reason, it bothers me to no end, but I have to say it. You adjust to your new normal. And you start getting more organized, and you start feeling calmer, because you're starting to get, now that you've processed everything, now it's like, okay, so I've gone through this like really emotional journey, and now now I'm feeling good, so let's get my life back on track is basically what the fifth stage is. And so then the sixth one is reconstructing and working through. So you start adjusting to solutions. So you're figuring out different solutions that work for you, and you're adjusting to those solutions. Your mind is more clear. You're seeking out more solutions that can help benefit you, not only adjusting to what you know, but you're looking forward to like more solutions. And you're looking at your future. It doesn't seem like it's so dim anymore. It's just like, I have a future, like, okay, like, let's go. And so you're uphill because you're like, now you're starting to make movement, like things are going. So the seventh one is, at the top, acceptance and hope. And you've accepted that you had a stroke, you had a medical trauma, something happened in your life. You understand, you know it, you accept it, it happened. We're good. And you're wanting to find joy, and you're anticipating good times, and that one is such a huge thing, because I feel like when you're starting off and you're going through, you're kind of more reclusive, and then as you start making up, then like now you're like, I'm anticipating going out and doing stuff, and I went through that. A pandemic kind of helped me in the reclusive part, where it's like I couldn't really leave anywhere, and just nothing to do. But, as things kind of, opened up a tad bit here and there, and now they're really opening up, it's like I'm anticipating having a good time. Like, oh, we're having a brunch with friends, we're going out to dinner. Like, I'm anticipating that. I'm not like, oh, no, emotionally, I'm just not there. So, and then, then you start planning your future, which is great because you're seeing beyond, what happened to you. You're planning your future. So for me, I told you that like as soon as I got out of the hospital for my first brain surgery, and I kid you not, we met with a realtor to talk about buying a house, which my husband quickly was like, you're not okay. He was so right. So, planning for the future. So now it's like, okay, so, things are going good, so, now we're planning, to, get a house, or planning trips. I mean, that's been my favorite thing so far, is I tell you, is I love trips. Who doesn't love a trip? But I have a fear of flying. I like taking off, and I like landing, which most people, that's like what they're scared of. No, I fear when the plane levels off, and it's going straight. I feel like we're just gonna fall. And I'm not ashamed to admit that, I had to take some Xanax, to get me on a plane. And, that's why, like, we would visit Chicago, because it's like as soon as you get up, they give you, like Diet Coke or whatever, like you're about ready to land. But, so Florida was longer. That was before my stroke, always before my stroke. But then after my stroke, we went to Arizona, and it was like, I wasn't afraid to fly. It was like, it was so wonderful. And I'm like, did my stroke like happen to hit something, like the fear factor or something? Because I'm not afraid to fly. I feel good. Like, and then, I was always a daredevil. Like, I, had no fear. I liked roller coasters, you know, bungee jump, you name it. I would do it all. I had no fear because I had no concept of the consequences of what could happen. So I had no fear. And then, you know, my mid 20s, all of a sudden it hit. I was like, this is dangerous. So I started getting fearful. And all of a sudden I developed this fear of heights. And like, I could watch TV and I would like my palms would start sweating, like just watching it. But you know, when we were in Arizona and we went to Superstition Mountain, like I had no fear. Like I was good. So it was like, this is progress. This is something to celebrate. Like this is great. And you know, this stuff is, you know, I'm at the top. But I know my reality is that I am going to go back through that circle again. But in my first time of dealing with the 7 stages of grief, I was cognizant to recognize each one of these stages and plan and see what works. So that way, because I know it doesn't end, that I know how to handle it when it hits. And that way, as time goes on, it will grow quiet. And you might go 5 years and all of a sudden it may trigger where something, you know, all of a sudden it grows loud and it's like, you know what, I got this. I've learned, I know what's gonna help. So, but basically, that's the 7 stages of grief. And I just think it's very important because, you know, it is the unfortunate part of dealing with something that is very traumatic. It's a part of your life now. So it's attached, it's part of you. And, how do you handle this grief cycle? So, and I said it before and I am going to say it again, but you know, feel every single emotion that comes out during this time period. Feel it. Do not suppress it. If you suppress it, then you don't know how you're going to react and you don't know the course of action to do that. So, and there's no shame. You know, no one's going to judge you. You had something that's life altering and you're going through emotions. So, you know, no one's judging you. If they are, then you know, cut them out. Like that's not someone worth it. Like if I knew someone that went through something traumatic, I would be completely understanding, like, okay, like you're going to be going through a lot of emotions and I'm here there for you for every single one of these emotions. I totally support you. So, you know, don't suppress your emotions, you know, don't be ashamed. I know you don't want to worry people or scare them, you know, when you go through them. If you feel like that is the case, because sometimes, you know, your caregiver or your spouse or your family, you know, they're not equipped for this either. You know, they're also kind of going through their own journey. It's kind of like being an alcoholic, you know, like, you know, you go to AA and, you know, or whatever, and you learn all this stuff, but, you know, family members go to, you know, like, get help too, so that way they understand. And stroke survivors, you know, they do have, you know, with the group therapy, they have one for families, so that way they can understand what your loved one's going through, and also you can understand what they're going through, because they feel helpless too, you know, and they don't fully understand like everything that you're going to go through. But don't don't suppress it. And if you have someone, like with my husband and, my mom, who were two people that, were really close on this journey with me, like I had to explain to them, like, I am going through this. Do not take any offense to anything. If I lash out, if I cry, whatever, don't get mad. Like, don't think something's wrong. I would sit on the couch and we'd be watching a comedy, and all of a sudden I would start crying. No reason. And that's what happens. You just start crying for no reason. So, it's harder to explain in a work environment, and that's something I'm trying to figure out. So it's still a learning process that, that's something I've identified, that, how do I express it to people without them thinking, what's going on. So anyways, so once you feel like you've completed your circle, and you've grasped all your emotions, that's, you make an action plan. So action plan is pretty easy. I mean, it's just like finding some simple joys out there. Drinking coffee at 7:18 p.m. Really great, huh? But here's some suggestions for you. So, enjoy nature. Enjoy every piece of nature. Enjoy the smells, the visuals, the feeling, the wind, everything. Just really go out and feel nature. If you live in a city where it's not so grassy and whatever, find some beauty in the nature of what you have in your city. If you live in the city, then you're used to it, like the sound of people, all this stuff. It's just, enjoy nature as much as you can. It's refreshing. Go for walks. As you're walking, A, you're getting exercise, and B, it gives you time to really like self-reflect and kind of calm down. And it just overall feels good to just go for a walk. And some people will go on a treadmill, and that's fine. For me, I am more of I will go walk outside type of person, because I want to enjoy that nature. And I like, senses, like the smells, they all trigger like this happy emotion for me. So journaling, I journaled quite a bit in the hospital, because I didn't want to forget any type of emotion I felt. And then when I got done, and back after that second surgery, I did a lot of hardcore journaling, because I had to get it out. And then voila, it turned into a blog. So, and that's another thing. You can do a blog and get your information out there, that it may help people. Or you don't have to do that. Your journey's private and you don't need to share it. Me, I'm an open book completely. I don't know. And there's nothing wrong with not disclose, keeping things private. For me, I'm very open. So, and I feel like I'm open because I'm hoping it benefit someone. That's even before my stroke. I've always been an open book. You could ask me anything, no shame. So, another thing is read. Reading is really great because it takes your mind off. You're in a whole new world. Get into fictional books and just get in a journey. It's like a vacation without actually leaving, and get, involved into a storyline and read, and, it something that interests you. Or if you have trouble sleeping, find a book that bores you. That way you can fall asleep. Still trying to figure out what book I'm going to read that's going to make me fall asleep. So, another thing is take up photography. Just take your phone. I mean, you don't need some like extravagant camera. I mean, most of our phones have all these like wonderful cameras. I have an Android and they're known for their pictures. So, just go out, take pictures, get creative. You don't need to, do landscape, do something, or, do object, like get up close or whatever, and just start making art or something. So, which leads me to artistic side, paint, draw. For me, it's graphic design. I love graphic design. It was always a passion of mine, and so I love making all these graphics. So it's distracting. It makes me happy. So, there's a reason why they always have arts and crafts for anything for mental health. It is just soothing and distracting, with each stroke of the brush, and it just allows you to be creative. Your mind is distracted, it's in the zone. So that's a good one. Doing puzzles is another one. I ordered so many puzzles, like crossword puzzles, all sorts of things. Like I have a whole bag of them. I didn't even tackle half of them because I'll admit it was a little hard for me and frustrating because my memory, like it was frustrating me because I couldn't think of it. And then it's like I put it down and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's what it was. So then I got back to it. But if you don't have that issue, doing puzzles or something like that, and I'm talking about word puzzles, but even, doing puzzle pieces, it's just distracting. Working out, always good. That working out has saved me. I didn't want to work out. I just couldn't even fathom working out after the hell I endured. But my husband pushed me and I started working out every night. And, I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm doing elastic band workouts, and it is so therapeutic for me to just be able to get my limbs moving, and just, I don't know, there's just something that just makes you feel like you completed something and it's good for you. And it's a distraction. Although the other night my foot slipped on the band and it did smack me on the face. So sometimes things happen. There's meditation that works great for several people. Me personally, it does not work, but that doesn't mean that it won't work for you. I think I have a lot more work I need to do on myself to drain out all of these unnecessary thoughts of I'm thinking way ahead. You know how I said plan for your future? Like, I am like way out there, but like sometimes I'm like worst case scenario. So meditation is not like the best thing for me right now until I can get a hold of that. But it's a work in progress, and I understand it. I realize it. I know I need to work on it. Baking is another thing, you know, the process of baking and, you know, measuring and, you know, if you're making cookies or whatever, and that, and plus you get to eat it. That's just another way to relieve stress. My favorite thing is a stress ball. I use this every single day. I did have one of the smaller balls at work, and it just, I don't know, it didn't work for me. I don't know if it will work for other people, but anyways, I like this one. It has like the little beads in it. I don't know. So like during work, I'm always, you know, using the stress ball. I don't know why, but it really, really does help me out for some reason. I have no clue. The other one is call someone, you know, to talk and, you know, talk about fun things. So, you know, I'll call a friend and, you know, just catch up and talk. And like I said, you know, I call my mom, and before it was stroke, stroke, stroke. And now it's just like, this is what's going on in my life. And, you know, we try to make each other laugh. So, you know, call someone. Call someone that you know is gonna like really be upbeat. You know, you don't want to call that friend that like, or family member that's gonna like stress you out. And I have a friend, you know, that we check on each other daily, every single day since my stroke. Every single day, we have not missed one day of messaging each other and being like, how was your day? And that's great. So those are the type of people that you need to. And the next one is animal therapy. Now, some people are not a fan of animals. That's okay. I don't understand it, but that's okay. So I have two Yorkies, and they give me a lot of therapy, and they understand my emotions. So they understand that if I'm upset, that they will come up to me and they will like perch on me and like cuddle me, and it just brings me out. Another thing is there's like for, you know, horses, you know, they do horse therapy. There's just so many different like animal therapy things that are really great. So those are just a few out of so many suggestions of like, you know, helping yourself and through your cycle. So it's applying that piece to your cycle. So like when you're feeling angry, you know, go for a walk. Guarantee when you come back, you're gonna feel much better. Or if you're feeling sad, you know, call someone that's gonna make you laugh, or journal it, or, you know, bake or something. But these are just all things that you can incorporate when you hit the 7 stages of grief.